Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to iCAN. I'm Howard Lim, and I'm going to discuss how to take your idea and build it as a business and brand. My company name is How Creative, and welcome. So what my purpose here and what I'm going to be presenting to you is how to present your invention as a business and brand. I started off knowing what I wanted to do back when I was 5 years old, the first time I ever finger painted. And I knew that it was very magical to create. And I had the opportunity to go to two really great schools, Cal Poly and Art Center, to learn the fundamentals of design, advertising, and marketing. And then I had the opportunity at Art Center to go to the first Macintosh lab in the world. And that's where I learned technology and how we could actually be more creative with technology. So I ended up combining the two. And by doing this, I became a disruptive solution provider for many of the Fortune 500 companies. So my formula is really fundamentals, technology, style, mindset for an innovative value solution. What I'm going to be teaching you is a whole brain approach to business and branding. Left side being logic, structure, the business side of things, return on investment, and the right-hand side being aesthetics, creativities, and how to gauge the consumer's emotion. Just a few things here, just to give you a little bit of a background of who I am. Helped out Disney position Lion King, a Broadway show, for their investors, and now it's produced over $9 billion. Helped Steve Jobs when the relaunch of Apple, helped position the city of Santa Monica for being one of the places for businessmen and women to do business along the coast of California and Los Angeles, specifically again, Santa Monica. And I also created a campaigning and branding campaigns for DVDs to take over VHS and Beta, and was hired by Philips and MGM. And the list goes on. So that's just a little bit about my background, where I helped lead the digital revolution and also started to formulate and led modern branding. So what we've done uniquely is produce for our clients, position them in a multi-billions of dollars in revenue, brand equity, and value. And I'm going to be talking quite a bit about revenue and equity. And then about 25 years ago, I've had my business for 35 years now. 25 years ago, I had this revelation after working with Fortune 500 companies that why do 95% of companies fail or become stagnant? At that moment, I want to create a new model, an additional model besides creating modern brands and technology, but how to invert this number by looking at businesses as more of a holistic approach. Here's the problem with most companies. They go out of sequence. So a lot of companies, what they do, they have an idea, like you guys have an idea about, and you have your product and you have your, or service for that matter, but most of you I know are inventors. And you come up with a strategic plan and you might get to the 30-yard line and you go to market, but you forgot, like you don't really have a brand strategy. So you're penalized and you just wasted a bunch of money and resources and in a sense have to start all over again. Then you have the business idea more polished, but then you figured out that you really lack IP of coming up with the right name for your product or service. And then you go, let's say, to the 80-yard line and you realize that you lack congruency of your brand identity. The point is you never make it to the end zone. And so it becomes a waste in time and capital. So I want to show you the right way of sequencing, which is really getting your business model with a lot of clarity, then looking at what kind of brand identity you want to create, and then market, okay? So I always say hope is not a strategy. A strategy outlines a map, and a map leads to a treasure, okay? So let's start with business strategy. What do I mean by business strategy? It's to really create clarity why you're in business, and it has to be more than just about making money, okay? You have to have a better reason than that. And you have to have a really strong IP, like your patents and trademarks, but you also need to have systems and processes in place. The other thing that I was find that is extremely important when you're looking at the business strategy is a really strong, innovative model. How many ways can you make model off that one idea? Can your idea move from industry to industry? Can your idea move from category to category? Or is it even really a new category to begin with? Kind of like where DVDs were new until took over VHS and beta, right? So you really need to look at, is your business model have a lot of flexibility? And the second question to ask you is, how adaptable is your idea? The more adaptable it is in a sense of easy for people to understand what it does and what problem it solves, the more valuable it becomes, the quicker it is that you're going to be able to get to the marketplace. The other thing that I find extremely important, which most companies do not do, and they burn through their capital, is they're not properly allocating their capital for sustainability and growth. Like they might put a lot of time into R&D, but they forget about building a brand. They forget about marketing, advertising. They forget about the resources they need to hire, okay? Which leads me to the other element here, the fifth element, which is team. Identify the key roles of your team and understand what role they should be playing, okay? So that's the business strategy. The brand strategy is looking at what difference are you going to make with your product. You have to have a lot of clarity on the legacy you want to leave with your product. What difference is it going to make? Like Apple, right? With Steve Jobs, his products changed society. It was allow people to adapt to his product very easily, had a very user-friendly interface, and really became an extension of the human being, okay? So the other element that you really need to understand is you need a philosophy, like I mentioned, how you're going to stand out, the values that are going to govern your culture of your business. So there's usually 5. Let's say one of them could be like integrity, having fun. These values is what shapes who will want to work with you, who would want to do business with you, okay? Very important. Every strong business, any world-class business has at least 5 values. Then you really need to look at what promise are you going to deliver on with your idea. Like, what is it going to do that no other product is going to do? Okay. Like, that's a promise. Okay. Like with Apple, for example, think different. It allowed people to think more creatively than PC. The other key element to branding is differentiate. And you can differentiate with a brand personality. Kind of like you look at insurance company, you got the Mahan guy for Allstate, Flo for Progressive. These are all called personalities. And the reason why you want a brand personality with your brand is because it's easier to people for them to associate with your brand, like your brand, and trust your brand, okay? The third component is marketing. Have you identified one of the 3 different types of buyers, the baby boomers, X or Y? They all think differently and they all buy differently. And if you're not clear on who you're selling to and what their mindset is based on their quote unquote generation, you will be wasting your marketing dollars if you're not clear on how to communicate to them. You also want to inspire your customers and your employees, and you want to identify the lifestyle of how you could see your product being utilized to enhance someone's lifestyle. Like, how is it going to improve their lifestyle, okay? Quality, long-term customer loyalty, quality always pays off. You gotta have a market strategy that really accurately positions your product with quality. And then positioning is really, really key to understanding how you're gonna get noticed in the marketplace. Do you have a unique value proposition? In other words, how unique is your product and what value are you bringing to the consumer? How unique is it, and what value are you bringing? Unique selling proposition is how you plan to uniquely sell to the consumer, and a UBP, unique buying proposition, is now looking from a customer's perspective. How are they going to purchase your product, and what's in it for their self-interest? Really important that you need to understand your positioning when it comes to the marketing, okay? Another key element to really get your idea lifted into a strong business is you gotta be working on the business, not in it. In other words, let's say that you're this guy here with the light bulb, and then you now are telling and directing the social media people what to do, but you yourself don't know what social media and how to utilize that. And let's say that now your team starts to grow, and this is you here again, and then this is you giving orders to the website guy, to the guy that needs to do print, and now also to the social media. You're now taking on all these different skill sets that are not yours. And now it's about putting up fires, never getting your product ready, really lifted into the marketplace, okay? And then it just compounds after that point. Okay, you want to build the website, you want to do vehicle wrap, you want to do presentations, but you're trying to do it all yourself, or you're hiring the wrong people. So I say, it is not your genius, it is not your job. If it's not your genius, it's not your job. That leads to, it's a little bit like pushing up a giant boulder uphill rather than taking a streamlined approach like a bullet train, okay? You really need to hire the right team. You need to get with a mentor, someone who's built a lot of businesses before. They will shave years of mistakes for you so you don't have to make these mistakes. You need someone in legal, like to create your contracts or patents, trademarks. You need an accountant. A lot of times when you're starting, you just need a bookkeeper, and you don't need an accountant, but someone just to give you the budget of the cash flow of the money going in, the money going out. You really need someone that's in charge of the branding, building the image in the mind of the consumer and building that identity, okay? And then you need the fifth person in marketing and sales. What I find is that this is the key to growing a company very rapidly by having these 5 team members, okay, from taking your idea and then now growing it into a business, or for that matter, selling your idea to someone else, okay? So let's talk a little bit more about branding. Branding is not your logo, it's not your product, it's not your service, okay? A lot of people think your brand's the logo, and it simply is not the case, okay? It's not what you're saying, it's what everyone else is saying. I could say everything about my services, but it's really dependent on how the consumer receives the information and what they're saying about me, okay? So it resides in the heart and the mind of the consumer. It's the expectation matched to the experience. In other words, what expectation do people have about your product? And are they going to receive the experience that you intended them to receive? There's usually a mismatch and there's a gap, okay? When things are not done right. It's a little bit like this. So let's say that you had a chance to win $1 million in the racetrack. Would you drive a brand new 2021 tractor or a 2021 Ferrari, or any year for that matter, to win $1 million? Well, of course you would choose the Ferrari, but how many of you have actually driven a Ferrari? That is where the expectation, you have an expectation, and if you experience these vehicles, the Ferrari better deliver on that expectation to give you the experience that you're looking for, okay? Your brand that you create is a sum total of impressions the customers will receive and gain through the interaction or the lack of interaction of your company. That means your website, that means your company name, that means the brand name, that means the product. These are all creating impressions of what they should think about your product as a brand. And if you're not thinking this clearly, you're creating a generic product, which doesn't have that much of a value, okay? So there's only two ways to build a brand: from the hip and by design. The problem with most brands, businesses are trying to do their own branding, or you're hiring the wrong service providers to create your brand. And the reason for this is because most people don't understand that branding is highly specialized. You usually become a brand strategist. It's about 7 years to master how to create your philosophy, your vision, the back end story. How would you actually create the brand message, okay? And then it's about 10 years or more to become a brand director. I say it's 15 years to become a brand director, which a brand director role is to make sure that there's a certain look and feel between everything you create to express your brand. Name, tagline, websites, marketing, advertising, storefronts, packaging, product design, the list goes on. Everything should be orchestrated so there's a certain look and feel that's all integrated, and a tone and a voice. Then there's brand management that's about 5 years to master, which is now looking at how to grow your company and expand it through additional stores, licensing, franchising, co-branding, sponsorships, and so forth. So you can see that branding is highly focused and specialized. The problem is a lot of graphic designers, marketing people, advertising people are saying they're doing branding. They're not. They're doing a small segment of branding, but they're not doing the whole look and feel like being an orchestrator, okay? So at least 81% of consumers need to trust the brands they buy from. And the way that you build trust is when you have a particular look and feel that's consistent and you're clear on your messaging, okay? So I'm just going to show you some evidence-based case studies here, how it all comes together with your product and bringing it and creating it as a business and brand. So building a business and brand from scratch, okay? This is a gaming company called Music Wizard. So we had to come up with the right name. And then they had no business model, or plan, no product, no real investors, no customers, no experienced team, and no practical way of rolling out. They only had an idea, and they didn't have like what it would take to get investors involved. They didn't have the concept, what would that game look like? It teaches kids how to play piano at the age of 5. Okay, it's a video game. So what we end up doing is doing a 3D master intensive to shape decades of mistakes and redos. We're really clear about the customer, really clear about the opportunities and threats. So start off with the business, like I showed you earlier. What's the vision you want to leave behind? What is the business model? What are all the ways you can make money? Okay. What's the ROI? How adaptable is the game going to be? At what speed? Okay. And then again, the brand strategy is looking at what's your brand promise? What's going to be the core message? What's going to be the overall look and feel? And a customer strategy again is what is your message, and what is your message to what segment of customers you want to reach? Was it going to be baby boomers, X or Y generation? Okay. This gives you an idea of the strategy session we went through over a course of 3 days. This is the architecture, okay? So you guys have to be thinking about the architecture of your business. We had Music Wizard at the top, and you can see that this whole side on the left-hand side is about the Piano Wizard, all the wizarding. Piano Wizard, Wizard Tunes, Guitar Wizard, okay, Music Wizard Club. And then mainly here on the right-hand side is the Academy. So we had Music Wizard Academy. This is what's called a business and brand architect to understand how your products and extensions of your products or extension of your business are all going to fit together. You have to figure this out first. Otherwise, when you piecemeal things together as you're moving along, it's just not going to be congruent or integrated. And believe me, you're going to have to redo things again and again. Okay. So it's really clear that you understand how your business, what's going to be the master brand, and then what are going to be the sub brands. Okay. It could be in what is going to be the company and the brand, and what are going to be your product extensions for that matter. But you need to map it out. That's the importance behind this slide. So here's the brand mark. These are the worlds that we came. We came up with all these worlds as you played a piano, a keyboard, you strike the product, you strike the same color, like green, and then pretty soon you're striking the key here and you're starting to play music by watching a video game, okay? So we had to create this whole look and feel of what that would look like. When we started off to raise money for the client, we figured out what are called the actual mood boards of what would that look like? What would the concept boards look like? Because we know that investors, you cannot leave any imagination for the investor. You have to spell things out, and the more you visually illustrate it, the more success you're going to have. If you're looking to raise money, the more success you're going to have in raising that money, okay? These are what we call the game objects that we've actually trademarked. And this is the actual video game. It's showing here, this little girl is actually starting to play music and starting to play the keyboards, okay? Here's the packaging, and went all to different stores. And we started to use PR, and then we end up winning all these awards. The more awards that we could show that we won, the more that it would be easier to raise money, the more that we could actually position the brand further in the marketplace, okay? You can see here all the awards we won and then all the magazine publications that we got into. Really important that you look at this. And then we did licensing agreement. So you could always look at too, how can you take your idea, keep it for yourself, and then license it as well. We licensed it to Fisher-Price, okay? So we end up getting another from the business model. We're able to actually get more business and drive more revenue and get more money from investors as well. You see how this is working? That's why you have to figure out your business model. What is going to be your revenue generator centers, okay? Important you do that after you come up with your idea, even before your idea. So the ROIs became raising several rounds of funds that they're able to accomplish, quick PR exposure, placement in major retail stores, millions of dollars in evaluation. When we got attorneys involved to do the evaluations, we were able to raise even more money based on the evaluations because we actually had something that worked and looked good and was world-class. We actually reached multiple channels too. So online presence, app, retail stores, licensing opportunities. You see how the model can really be expanded when you really work with the right team members. Just to show you one more other example here, the standard. This is a product, okay? It was they needed to change your business model because it's only B2B, and they're unable to grow in a warehouse space, and they lacked a brand identity that was integrated throughout every element. Poor close ratio, very difficult for them to close because they weren't clear on their messaging. But they desired to be an industry leader, but they lacked positioning. So again, went through a 3-day strategy session, okay? This is the old logo, and it was terrible. It looked like these are amputees, right? And this is a new brand mark that we created for them that was a lot more lively. This is very 70s looking. We wanted to create something that was very youthful looking. And we came up with this tagline, live the longer life you love, okay? This is the old packaging. This is the new packaging. This is based on the aspiration of the people that you're targeting to, which we call the Zoomers, the active elderly people. Okay, live the longer life you love. Okay, and then we created this, number one in safety and function, and it's easier to digest. By doing it this way, we're able to now enter the retail stores. With the old packaging, they were not able to enter the retail stores because the guy that was designing it was not a designer, and he didn't understand branding, and he was designing it more like a postcard. Packaging is a whole different animal. Each media has different principles to it. A billboard, website, you would not design a billboard the same you design a website. You would not design a website the way you design a packaging. The list goes on. You got to hire the right team, okay? This is the old point of purchase, and this is a new point of purchase, okay? This really stood out in retail stores and wholesale spaces. This is the old website, and then this is the new website. Such more innovative, more cool looking, 3D animation showing how the product works, okay? Because we got clear that we were after the active lifestyle. We weren't after the people that felt like they're in their last, unfortunately, on their deathbed, right? In 7 months after we redid their branding, they were able to get into all these major retail stores that they could not get in before, okay? And so what happens, we grew them 32% in 12 months. They had mass market accounts that they did not have before. 100% close ratio, when before they had about 15% close ratio. And they were able to lock in and lock out their competition, and run multiple revenue streams, okay? So that was just a couple examples of how you take your idea and then you build a business, and then you build your brand around that business, and then you market it, okay? So what we also do, when I always start off with companies, we do these live online one-on-one brand assessments over the internet for an hour long, and I have clients send me their logo, their packaging, their product design, everything, and then I take a look at it and I evaluate it, and I give them, and I help them identify their blind spots, their potential, and the gap between being good to great, okay? So here's Masterpan, where they were not able to scale their sales, and they had no value proposition, poor customer service experience online, a weak brand identity, and slow growth. So the Masterpan, this is what they look like, which is typical for people, is that when they build websites, everything's shouting at you at once. But what it was missing was the value proposition. What kind of pan is this? What is its function, right? So just to give you an idea, we mark things up, and then we tell them what they put in so they could actually then change it, right? And then we show them where to put headlines. Why? Because what happens is now you're telling a story that's clear, and you're able to now sell. So here's what we did. We showed them their master pan, then we showed them, hey, say cook a full meal in one pan for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It was geared towards men. We want to show all the things that they've been in. We want to show above the fold all the credibility. And then we want to show quick videos. So this told a more complete story. So, and then we showed them too, hey, why don't we create masterware so you have master pans, right? And you maybe have master pans and then master silverware and then master plates. So we create a whole system for them to build their whole product line. And then we looked in GoDaddy to see what was available. And we also then did some quick trademarking to see what was available as well, okay? And then as an end result, this is the end result. After I had them make their changes, they came back to me and showed me their changes. Now they tell a complete story, okay? And now they have a product that's now a brand, not a commodity, and it doesn't look generic. So now they have a clear and concise message, an easy website to navigate, positive feedback from the web, with great critiques from the customers, giving great feedback, and they have a more sustainable and scalable company. So if you're interested, if you want receive instantly thousands of dollars worth of feedback on your website, logo, packaging, product, brochure, or anything, okay, I'm offering this through iCAN, which I usually charge $3,000, and it's for $500. And just go to howcreative.com/assessment and then fill out the application. And then I'd set up a call with you, no matter where you're at in the world, have you send your material, and then I'll do what I did with the master plan, is mark things up. So I just want to help out as many inventors and business owners as possible. And this is the first place I always start with. It's kind of like going to a doctor. You have to go first an evaluation to figure out where you're at, where you want to be with your health, and what that gap is, okay? So thank you for your attendees here. And I want to congratulate you for attending iCAN. And I want you to get the most out of iCAN and really consider what I just told you of how to take your product idea, build it into a business, and then looking at how to build a brand from the business and then being able to market it. There's so many people here that want to make a huge difference. It's just a matter of putting things in the right sequence, okay? And hiring the right team members and having you be the visionaries. So thank you once again, and enjoy.